Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for clicking on this video this morning. And life after the comma, it really does get better. And for those of you who this is your first time being here, I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for choosing this channel at this moment to get whatever you're going to get out of it today. And I know it's going to be something good. And for those of you who have been following me, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. This video in particular is about my first 100, the ones who helped me to reach 100 subscribers. I appreciate you guys so much. Um, Sometimes we don't know. It's those little things, those little um, things like hitting a subscribe button that can bless the person on the other end. That's the person who's receiving that. It's huge. It's not that, and I've said this before, that my goal in creating this channel wasn't to get a whole bunch of subscribers and people, watching my videos. It was because I wanted to share the journey that I was on and hopefully help people who, like me, found themselves in similar situations and needed to know that there was hope on the other side of whatever it was that they were facing. And for me to know that the subscribers who took their time to say, you know what, I want to be on this journey with you, is saying to me that you trust me enough to pour into you out of whatever it is that I have. And I don't take that lightly. I don't take anything that God puts in my life lightly. Nothing. And so I wanted to take this moment to come on here and especially say thank you to my first 100 subscribers and to the ones that come after this, because I believe there's going to be a lot more. But in particular, for the ones who helped me reach 100 subscribers. So thank you so very much. I didn't come with a whole lot of script and all of that. But what I do want to say is, first of all, as we're on the subscriber topic, if you haven't done it already, like, go ahead and like the video, share it with somebody else. If you're getting something out of it, I know there's somebody else that you can think of who would also benefit from hearing what you are. And then if you haven't done it, subscribe to the channel. And that way you'll get all the notifications. Whenever I do something, you'll be on that list to get that notification. So thank you so much. So one of the things I wanted to say, over this past weekend, as I mentioned in a previous video, I was attending a seminar, a conference, summit. I was attending something, being poured into. Sometimes you can pour into everybody else, but you can put yourself on the back burner. You know how that is. And it's nothing wrong with that. We are supposed to be pouring into other people. But I submit to you that that pouring that you do has to come from a place of overflow. It has to come from a place of overflow, not what's barely sustaining you. Because if you're steady pouring out, if you're steady pouring out, then, and you're never being poured into, what's going to end up happening? You're going to come up empty. And that's the place where burnout, fatigue, stress, worry, and all of the things that we are trying to relieve others of, now we're being depleted and we're struggling with those things. And so we have to take that time of refreshing. We have to have that time to be replenished. And over this past weekend, that was one of the things that was happening for me is I I was doing something I've never done before. And how many know to have something you never had, you got to do something you never did? Otherwise, if you just keep doing the same things and expecting to get a different result, you're in for a rude awakening. you know, they call that the cycle of insanity. And none of us are insane here. so I trust that if you're watching this, you definitely are not insane. So thank you. But I just wanted to just say, that we have to take those times. And what it was doing after the very first day, sometimes when you get a different perspective of something, it shifts something. It shifts something in you that otherwise wouldn't have happened. And so, um, it's just like they talk about, to create change in your life, to take some risk. And sometimes risk, when you hear that word risk, it sounds like something, oh, wow, this is something big and I have a lot to lose. But sometimes taking a risk is just going a different way to work, taking a different route than you normally would take, make it a safe route, but taking a different route than what you would normally take. Just doing something different, getting outside of your comfort zone, getting, realizing that there's a whole world out here that's so much bigger than us. And if we're only around people who, and especially if you're that type of person that you don't see things quite the same as everybody else. You see possibility where everybody else is just complaining. And I submit to you that if you're just complaining and you're not trying to solve the problem, then you're part of it. And so a lot of us, we've been in positions or places or around people who do a lot of complaining, but they're not really doing anything about what they're complaining about except making it worse. Because I really believe that we have what we say. Whatever our focus is on the most is where our energy is going to go and where the reciprocity of that energy is going to come from. So we have to be able to shift our minds and the perspectives. And sometimes, and it doesn't mean that you get away from your core belief because that's so important. You got to know what you know. You have to know what you know. You have to know you like nobody else. One of the things I heard over the weekend is that if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you. If you don't know who you are, everybody else around you will tell you. And the problem with that is they'll make you whatever they want you to be. And you'll know that that's the place that you're living in because you always feel uncomfortable. You always feel like there's something more because that core, that part of you that says, you're bigger than this, you're better than this. Not that you're bigger or better than anybody, but you're bigger and better than the situation that's causing you to feel like you're stagnant, like you're confined, constricted, like you can't get out of it. And so when you finally get around people who like you, it's like that the eaglet in the chicken yard. Have you all heard that before? There was a baby eaglet who had fallen out of the nest and had landed among some chickens. And so the little hen, she kind of took the little eaglet and raised it as her own. And as it started to grow, and it would see, it would peck around with the chickens, but, it was a little odd thing. It looked kind of strange, But one day, it heard this screech in the air. immediately it resonated with it, and it was like, what was that? And when it looked up, it saw this eagle soaring in the sky. And that little eaglet looked at that eagle and he said, man, I want to do that. I feel like I could do that. Something about seeing that eagle it resonated, it called something to it. And so every day from that day forward, it got more and more discontent with pecking around the chicken yard with the other chickens. Every day, something had happened and changed that day that it just wasn't satisfied. And the other little chickens thought, uh, what's the matter with you? It didn't fit in. It got talked about and, all kinds of things. You know how chickens do. Well, maybe not chickens, but you know how, that group of people that kind of always want to tell you what you can't do and who do you think you are? And you'll never, that group. But one day, that little eaglet was grew. And you know what? I'm going to say this real quick for you all know the past few videos I've done, I've been having some issues with these earphones, but that's going to change. But I needed to hear. But one day, that eagle grew, and one day, it just got to the point where it was like, you know what? This is not good enough for me. I believe that I can do more. And once again, it heard a screech. And this time, when it looked up in the air and it saw that eagle, it was like, I got to do this. And it got the courage to start flapping its wings. But this time, it took off. And when it took off, it was kind of hard at first. It struggled because it had never flown before. So he struggled because his wings had grown so large. It was a struggle for him to get used to doing something other than what it had been doing, and that was pecking along the chicken yard. But as it began to start flapping its wings, it flapped, and then those flaps became fewer and farther between until it caught a current and it realized that it no longer had to flap, that it was being carried by the wind underneath its wings. And at this point, it began to soar. And that's the way it's been for most of us. Most of us have been pecking around chicken yards too long. Most of us have had that uneasy feeling that there's something more, but just didn't have anybody around us to tell us, you go for it, you go for it. It was a few people that kind of encouraged you, but they didn't have that same fire. They didn't have that same fire, not because they didn't want to. It's just that they'd never seen it in the circles that you've been in. And so they didn't know how to press you and push you any further than what they could. So they did their best. But one day, you get around a group of people who, like you, have been eaglets in a chicken barn. And they're telling you, we can do this. Not you, not just I. We can do this. And when you have a group of people around you telling you, we can do this, that's what I'm telling you today. That no matter what you've been through, no matter how far in the future it seems like it might be, or even how impossible it may seem, I'm here to tell you we can do this. We can do this. You can do this. But you're not going to do it by yourself. With God, all things are possible. And the thing I love about him is that he shows up in each and every one of us every day. When we stop to see the God in one another, when I see the God in you, when you see the God in me, I guarantee you, if you have subscribed to this channel, you saw the God in me. You might have thought you were just coming to hear something from Sondra. No, you were hearing who God chose to show up as when he chose to show up as Sondra. And that's the way we need you to be. There are ways that God could not show up as unless he showed up as you. So when I celebrate you, I celebrate him in you. When you celebrate me, you celebrate him in me. We celebrate him in each other and we lift him up. He said that's how we'll draw all men to him, is when we lift him up. So that's what we do when we follow the path that he's given us. And it may take a while. It took me over a year to reach 100 subscribers. But I'm not discouraged by that because I know that all during that time, I'd been sowing and watering the seed that he gave me when he gave me the idea to start this channel. And I want to share two things with you, and then I'm going to be done for today. But this morning in my devotion, I was given this word about why it's important to know where you're going, knowing who you are and knowing where you're going, knowing where you came from. Why those three things are important. And he gave it to me in this way. If you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? How will you know? How many missed opportunities have we had because we didn't know where we were going? So that was the first part. And then he said, if you don't value where you've been, if you don't value the road that you were on, if you don't value the experiences that you have endured, the pain that you've endured, if you don't value where you've been, the pain it cost you to get through it would have been wasted. I'm going to say that again. If you don't value where you've been and then the pain it cost to get you through it would have been wasted. Basically, what he's saying is I believe you hear it. Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for the good, for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. And then, of course, in the first part of that, if you don't know where you're going, How will you know when you get there? I hear Jeremiah 29:11 in that, in saying, I know the plans that I have for you. And it's a good plan. It's plans to give you hope and a future, a hope and an expected end in some translations. God has a good plan for our lives. And sometimes we get discouraged somewhere in the middle because we don't see anything happening. We don't learn to value every moment between the time that we may have received a word and the time of the manifestation of that word. You know, it says, as long as the earth remains, seed, time, and harvest. Come on. We forget about the time part. We don't know how long that time is between seed and harvest. But I got something for you. This is that last part I'm going to leave with you. And then I just hope and pray that you have a blessed day. But I'm reminded of the Chinese bamboo tree. Some of you may have heard about how a Chinese bamboo tree grows. From the time it's sown, from the time it's planted in the ground, 5 years goes by before anything is seen breaking the ground. 5 years. But what's happening in that 5 years? So it's being watered, it's being tended to every single day. Every single day is being watered, every single day. But nothing is being seen on top. At the end of 5 years, that bamboo tree can grow up to 90 feet in 6 weeks. You heard me. Once it breaks ground, within 6 weeks, it goes from seeing nothing to up to 90 feet tall. So, what was it doing? How long did it take for that tree to grow? Was it 5 years and 6 weeks? Or was it 6 weeks? And what was happening during that 5 years? The Chinese bamboo tree has one of the most intricate root systems. And it's developing its root system so that by the time it does reach its height, oh baby, there's not much that's going to destroy it, because its root system is so uh is so deep, and it's intermingled, because it's not just that tree. It's all the other trees that's within that root system. They've all come up. So if you were to see this, that's pretty awesome. So I'm saying, if you haven't seen anything and you get connected to the right people, and everybody is doing their due diligence, they've been doing their due diligence, and now they've got a root system, you're about to see a forest. I'm reminded of Isaiah 61, I believe, and I believe it might be around the third verse, where he talks about that he has made you, that you will be a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor or his glory. A planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. And when I think about that, you know, when you think about everything you've been through, it's been some dirt. It's been some dirt. And but yet nothing can grow. A seed can't grow without dirt. Not the way it was meant to be. So you had to go through what you went through. And that's why it says if you don't value where you've been, the pain that it cost you to get through it would have been wasted. So learn to value what you've been through. I know it was painful. I know it was ugly. And I know it wasn't fair. I know that it's hard to forgive people that haven't even haven't even acted like they need it because they don't think they did anything wrong. When you realize that for where God is taking you, you had to go through that. He didn't bring it. He didn't make them do what they did. But if he allowed it, it was because he had a plan to use it. And so now for you to get there faster, for you to be in that place now where you're ready to break through that ground after everything that you've been through, you're going to have to forgive. And something happens when you say, you know what, Lord, I may not have liked what I went through. It was painful what I went through. It was painful what they did. And even when I think about it, it's like, man, it's like I'm experiencing it all over again. But you know what? I give it to you because I know that even though I was going through all of that, through my tears, I kept doing the thing that you wanted me to do in those moments. And you said if I sowed in tears, I would reap with joy. That if I went forth weeping, carrying precious seed to sow, that I would no doubt come again rejoicing and carrying my sheaves with me, carrying my harvest. God, I thank you. Now, when I think about the pain I went through, when I think about the tears I cried, when I think about all of that was going on, that was just like that Chinese bamboo tree. So I am looking forward to what you're doing with all that precious seed that I sowed and the tears you used to water my garden. I tell you what, if you don't get anything else out of this today, I want you to be so encouraged that the very fact that you're listening to this, God is speaking to you. He's speaking to you because he wants you to know none of it was wasted. None of it. And as long as you hang in there, you are too close to turn back now. Your future is too priceless. It's too much for you to forfeit it by going back. By going back. It's the anticipation of the harvest that's going to bring it to you. That's going to cause that 6 weeks after seeing nothing. It's the anticipation. It's now faith. It's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of what hasn't been seen. That's where we are right now. That's where we are right now. And if you can grab a hold of that, if you can really believe that and take that for yourself, you are about to see God do some amazing things through you that you never would have thought that you would do. You're about to see it. Because what God is going to do, he's going to do through you. So stop looking for it to come out of the sky. Stop looking for it to come in other ways. No, he's going to do it through you because that's where the glory, his glory, is going to come from. So you keep on shining. You keep on believing. You keep on doing the work and let him do the thing you can't do. Let his grace be sufficient and walk in the supernatural favor of God. Watch him. I believe we're about to see some things that we never imagined. So, with that being said, I'm Sondra Louise, and life after the comma really does get better. God bless you.